Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Controcarro E Minotauro. It's a tier 10 Italian tank destroyer. It's located on the north spawn of Lakeville, and this one is under the command of marke12. And he's been playing his heart out in this tank because he wants to get champion status in it. Game underway. It's got a 13cm gun. That's the single horn of a Minotaur. Yep, Minotaur is a bull with one horn, and this one certainly is. But this is actually a Controcarro. Controcarro means counter tank. So it's a tank that takes on other tanks, counters them, or an assault tank of sorts, you might say. 13cm gun with 530 alpha. 265mm of pen with the standard AP, and that's what he's loaded straight away. And with the premium rounds, the heat rounds, it'll do 330mm. Now it's a 5-shot autoloader. There's 5 shells in the drum, and they've got 8 seconds between each shell. So that's intra-clip reload is 8 seconds. Well, what's really devastating about this tank is the fact that it can do this to a tortoise. He's got the front plate, he's loading in the heat rounds. First shot goes in and he hits the tortoise for 517 hit points, and that's a low roll. 565, that's a high roll, and he just plastered that shell straight through the thick armour of the front of the tortoise. Well, that one didn't go through, but I'm sure the next shell will. Oh, he's got an E75 to counter now. So who's next? Well, the E75 takes that through his lower plate for 495. Got one more shell left, and I think it's the tortoise who's going to get it. Yep, and he does, and it's another high roll for 561. It does have a rather long reload when you actually have to load the 5 shells into the drum. 21.26 is what Marky's got, but the book reload is 23.01. And I know a lot of people have analysed this tank and said, well, isn't that rather a long time for the reload? Well, not really. If you think of the burst damage it's putting out, it really is phenomenal. It's similar burst damage to a Badger. Very similar. And it's only 20 seconds or so you have to wait. And then you've got another 5 shells. And those shells are devastating to the enemy. Okay, E75's not even looking at us. Look at us. Take this shell, and he does. That's 474. That was a low roll. Now we've got a Prima Victoria, or Prima Victoria. They just don't want to tempt us to shoot at them. A Heshbarn sitting up on top of the rock, but he's pulling back. And so's the E75. He can't face us. You can't face a tank like this. It's just too devastating. Well, that one missed on the Primo. Okay, we've got another shell loaded, ready to go. Now, who's going to be the next one to take it? The Heshbarn's come up again, but our teammates seem to be taking care of him. Okay, E75. Lower plate, and he's out the game. This thing is really deadly. I mean, super deadly. It's really the fact that the armour is 300mm all across the front of the vehicle, except for the lower plate. The lower plate is weak. It's only got about 200mm, but the upper plate and the front of the turret is 300mm. Very difficult to pen. Well, that one didn't. It only did 568 damage to the Emil. We're waiting for that 8 seconds, and he gets one round into us. And I think that shell must have gone into a weak spot. So let's have a look and see where that shell went. He's looking at the enemy up ahead. Oh yes, you can see it went into the weak spot on the lower part of the hull. That's the weak spot you can get in. Other than that, the only other weak spots you can go for is the commander's cupola. There's the wrecked tortoise. This tank does not respect the armour on the tortoise. It just plows its way straight through, and any tank that can do that to a tortoise is really deadly. Well, we can see some enemy tanks pulling back there, but I don't think he's going to chase after them. Okay, Borsig, he'll easily go through this one. Yeah, right through the side, he gets 597, a high roll. Next shell's loaded. Still 4 shells to go. There's an enemy hash farm behind the rock, but I think our teammates are going to deal with him, and he's gone. Okay, it's a good position. Marky's just checking to see where the shells went. He was very lucky that those shells didn't actually hit the commander's cupola. It looks like they hit the gunner's cupola instead, and there's really no armor you can penetrate on the gunner's cupola. Another unusual thing about this tank is the fact that the driver is actually in the turret with the rest of the crew. He's the one on the left of the turret, I think. Okay, ELC takes around, low roll, 483. The Borsig is a one-shot. You only need to get around into him and he's out the game. Yeah, look at that. You can see got the weak spot on the lower part of the hull. It's only 200 millimeters there, but he wouldn't have been able to pen if he'd hit higher up. But the Emil had a clip of heat rounds loaded and he was able to get them in. Okay, so we've reloaded. We've got 5 rounds to go. All armor piercing. It seems like most of the enemy team have been caught between here and the town. And there's the Borsig. Oh, yes! He made that shell skim across the ground and it went into the top of the Borsig. Only the top was showing. Well, we don't know where that ELC is. There's an M3Y just around the corner. The only trouble is, this tank, the turret only turns 45 degrees either side of the center line, so you've got 90 degrees in total. But the problem with that is that because it'll only turn partially round, if the enemy can track you, then they can tear you to shreds, because even if you fix the track, they'll track you again, and then you're effectively helpless, and they'll just shoot into your weak side armor, and you'll be gone. So long as you keep the front of this tank to the enemy, there's not a lot they can do. In fact, about the best thing you can do with a Controcarro Minotauro is actually come up behind it and that shit in the ass. That's very difficult to do when he's pointing his gun directly at you. Uh-oh, E100. Okay, gets one into the track and we bounce around from a back chat. And, oh, Kunstpanzer just hit our observation device. Obviously going for the cupola. Kunstpanzer, yes, got one in. Unfortunately, we just lost the Kampfpanzer Funkseek. But they've lost their Kunstpanzer. And we bounced around from the 90mm on the ELC. We see that E100. Oh, there's Batchat. The ELC keeps popping up to spot for his teammates. And it looks like that E100 is sniping from a distance. Just missed him. Okay, so we're in full reload now. Oh, behind us we just lost the AMX 65 ton. But it looks like the EPR-75 on the enemy team just got taken out by our E50, and he's just across the way from us, short distance away. Okay, we're loaded, 5 shells ready to go. 8 seconds between each shell. So it's 4 and 4 yet at the moment, and that 6th sense just gone off, and I think that's the ELC again. Just reminding us that he's there. Got 2 tanks on the lake road just around the corner, and the Udes is right up the far end. I suppose he's guarding the lake road to stop the enemy coming up that way, but we really need him down this end at the moment. Marky's got 5,406 hit points of damage already, and the E50's doing a good job of keeping that M3Y at bay. Marky's trying to use his gun depression on that E100, who's obviously spotting us from a great distance away. That player's already got a top gun. He's obviously good. Marky's got 4 kills. And there's still 3 enemy tanks in play. The E100, the M3Y, and that ALC Ever-90. He's just checking to see, is he in a gun depression position? The UDES is finally coming into play. Marky did mention it in chat, and I think he suddenly realised that he wasn't taking part in the battle. And he's coming up behind the E100. Now, he should be able to put some damage into the E100, at least distract him whilst we can get at the other tanks. Okay, the 6th sense has just gone off again, and I think that was the E100. UDES is backing away, so obviously I think he can see the E100, or maybe he's worried about the E100. There's the E100. Yeah, he's coming towards him. Okay, we need to move now. Just worried about what might be to the left. There's the M3Y. One shot. That's all it needs. Unfortunately, we just lost the UDES. So they've still got 2 enemy tanks. We're checking now to see if the ELC's to our right. It doesn't appear so. The E50 just went through that ground. Thank goodness it's an E50M. Now, I think what we need to do here is try and catch the E100 in a position where he has to back away before the Minotauro's gun. And if he has to back away, then that will allow the E50 to move up and we can catch him in the crossfire. Okay. Oh, there's the LC! He's just around that house. And he's just bounced the rounds off our armour, so he's not firing them in the right spot either. Now, 1 round to finish off the E100. Ow, he just hits us, and there he's gone. That's the Top Gun. Now we just need to chase the ELC out of this position and let the E50M take the kill. Okay, and the E50 has seen the blood in the water, and there's the kill. Wins the game. Well played, Marky. What was really nice at the end of that game, marke12 managed to get a Brothers in Arms by platooning with the E50M. They both had at least 3 kills. In fact, Marky had 6 and the E50M had 3, so they both got a Brothers in Arms out of that action as well. So congratulations. He also managed to get an ace tanker out of that. In fact, not just an ace tanker, he got the champion in the Controcarro Minotauro in this game. So he's now got the gold camouflage that goes with being the champion player on this tank. He got a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 6. He got a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle, and a shell proof for blocking more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle. He picked up a Brothers in Arms for being in a platoon with somebody else, and both of them managed to getting at least 3 kills apiece and survived the battle. A steel wall for blocking the most damage in that game. A high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game. And lastly, he got a Top Gun for getting at least 6 kills. That's quite a performance in this incredible tank. Let's have a look at team score. Well, the highest damage in the game was 5,798, but he nearly didn't get it because the E100 on the enemy team had the 2nd highest damage and it was 5,462. So there wasn't much in it at the end of that game. This guy was really, really dangerous. The 3rd highest damage turned out to be the Batchat 25 ton on the enemy team, 3,407 hit points of damage to him. And the 4th highest damage was the Heshbon on the enemy team with 3,166. When it came to kills, well, the E100 managed to get 7 kills in the end. By killing the UDES, he got more kills than Marky did, but Marky got 6 kills. He got a Top Gun in 2nd place, and of course he won the game because he took down the E100 and then made it possible for the E50 to take out that ELC. The 3rd highest kills in the game turned out to be the E50 Ausführung M as well, and of course they got that Brothers in Arms. When it came to base XP, Marky gets that one with 1,277. The next highest being the Object 257 with 988 and the Emil 2 with 851. And Marky was the only player to get over 1,000 base in the game. He fired 22 rounds in the game, got 19 direct hits on the enemy and 15 penetrations, damage of 5,798 hit points, all of it at close range. 17 hits received from the enemy, only 2 of which actually penetrated, 13 non-penetrations and 2 hits by way of splash damage. The 2 tanks that actually penetrated him turned out to be the E100, who actually was using premium ammo right at the end of the game, and of course the Emil 2, who actually managed to get a decent pen in just the right weak spot to actually make it count. He also received 2 hits by way of splash damage. That was from the Tortoise, who gave up trying to fire armor piercing at him and decided instead that it was only worth throwing HE. And of course he should have pulled back altogether because he really wasn't suited to being a blocking tank on that narrow pass. Because of course when you're up against a Minotauro, he can just plaster you with 13cm shells and you can't get through his armor. He got 3,800 hit points of damage blocked by armor, 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 6 killed, and 1,320 hit points of damage assistance. On a free player count, he earned 48,981 credits, but after repair and ammunition resupply, yes, he did use premium ammo. He needed to on some of those enemy tanks, and that's what cost him in the end, because he actually lost 34,850 credits for the game, but of course he did get champion standing for the Minotauro. 1,277 base XP, times 2 for the first victory, 2,554 experience points altogether. He says this was an easy win. I think it looked a little more difficult than that actually, because of course he daren't go forwards, because if the enemy could gang up on him all at the same time, then he didn't really have much chance of surviving very long. The thing about the Minotauro is you cannot let the enemy get a shot at your sides. You have to keep your front to the enemy, and that can sometimes work against you, because it means that if the enemy can mob you, then there's not a lot you can do, because they can track you, hold you in one place, and then finish you off. So that's the end of the details. Let's have a look at the armor for this beast. Okay, well, it doesn't look as if it's very strong like that, but look at these figures. It's 300 millimeters of impacted armor, but you can see the effective armor there is coming up to 360 or 370 in some places, 375 there. And this is because the armor on the front of this vehicle is angled. So it's not just flat armor, it's actually angled armor as well. And you can see that the armor extends over the front of the hull as well. But the place where the Emil hit him was where the armor is weakest, 190 millimeters, and that's why he could get the heat round in. This is why this needs 10 degrees of gun depression, and you can fight it with 10 degrees of gun depression over a ridgeline, because the only part that would actually be showing, if I show it here on the diagram, if I bring it round, there you go. If I bring it round so the gun's pointing directly at you, you can see that you can hide the vulnerable lower plate beneath the ridgeline and still be able to move up to get shots on the enemy and turn your turret round either direction. But you don't want to expose those weak spots at the sides, because if you do, then there's a good chance the enemy might pen that. Okay, so if I go back to normal, there you go. And you can see on the side armor of this thing, it's actually, if I can get the cursor to come back, there you go. We can see the weak armor on the side, it's only 75 millimeters. So of course, another vulnerability. If the enemy can get beside you, then they can track you in place and then put you full of holes in the side. And the rear of this vehicle is only 20 millimeters there, 40 millimeters there, so you can easily pen. And of course, the roof is penetratable as well by Arty, only 30 millimeters thick. So any Arty shell landing on top of this thing is going to do a lot of damage. Try not to aim for the front of the vehicle, because that's where the armor is strongest. But if you can put a round on top, then you can put him back into the garage. Now, I'd love to show you where the modules are, but unfortunately, Wargaming have not told us where they are at all. But what we do know is that the driver is actually in the compartment, so we can guess that the gunner is up on this side of the vehicle, and the driver is over on this side. Now, I may be wrong, but I think that's a gunner's sight there. And this is a gunner's sight, so the commander is under this cupola here. So I think this one, without the gunner's sight, is actually the driver, and that's where he's located. And most of the people who were playing it were actually, or trying to fight it, were trying to aim for these cupolas here to try and take them down. They did take down the vision port, but if we go back to the module again, so let's have a look at the collision model. We'll go to the live model. You can see the weak spots they were aiming for were these spots here, where it's only 140 millimeters. So yes, that's where you're supposed to aim. If you can't see the lower plates, and you can see here, there is only a small weak spot underneath, but it's so strong at the front. If you can't see the lower plate, go for the cupola on top, and you should be able to penetrate that, if nothing else. So they were correct to aim where they did go. They're just very unlucky that they didn't get the shell that actually penetrated. It's not even worth trying to get the driver's cupola, because all you're seeing is the viewports there, and really you're not going to get a penetration off that. You will get a penetration off the commander, you won't get a penetration off the gunner. So you might take out the gunner's sight, you might take out the commander's sight, but you're not going to be able to get a pen on the driver or the gunner as such. You're much more likely to be able to penetrate the commander at the back, but that's about it. So thanks very much to marke12, and congratulations for getting your champion status on the Controcarro Minotauro. I think this is the first replay we've actually seen of this beast on our channel, but I'm sure we will be seeing more in the future. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.